Hey guys, I haven't actually made a review in a very long time, but I have done two recent unboxings of the Batman trilogy, Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy extended versions. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Quentin Tarantino film, Django Unchained, which came out on Christmas Day in America, I believe, and it came out on the 18th of January in the UK. This was annoying for me because on the 18th of January, the local cinema in Canterbury didn't show it, which really pissed me off. I'm a massive Quentin Tarantino fan, and I was quite disappointed that I wouldn't be able to get to see this film like straight off on release. I watched a lot of reviews, video reviews and audio reviews podcasts reviewing Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. How I feel about the film as a whole. Now, this cinema isn't very good. I have to admit, it's a very bad cinema. So I saw it it was in digital projection, which wasn't what Tarantino wanted people to watch the film in. He's very much a fan, like he wants to stay with film. That makes sense to people, maybe. Right, Django Unchained. I really did enjoy this film, and it's not Tarantino's worst film. I don't want to get on his tits about anything, but I don't know why, but something about this film just didn't seem to mesh for me. All of his other work has kind of clicked, except for Death Proof. I mean, Death Proof I did enjoy. I did have some issues. In my video review I do talk about them. I'm not sure why this film didn't click. The first hour of the film, hour and a half I think, is really good. Incredibly fast dialogue, what you'd expect from a Quentin Tarantino film, but he also puts in some character development. You know, you're getting to know people, stuff like that he kind of did in Jackie Brown. It kind of feels like he's starting to do that again, which is why Jackie Brown's such a good film, because he actually strays away from his formula and starts doing something he wants to do. And Jackie Brown didn't make much money, so he hasn't done that much since. Doing this in Django Unchained was actually quite a nice breath of fresh air for Tarantino fans, but it also feels like a Tarantino film in the first hour and a half. The film obviously is inherently depicts the times before I think it was the civil rights movement, or the freedom of all the slaves in America. So this film uses a lot of racist terms, especially the N-word, which is uttered quite a few times. I don't know how many exactly, but I know it was probably over 50 times in the film, and when it's said, mostly it's said as a derogative, which is kind of strange. It feels ironic that when Tarantino uses that kind of language in other films, he uses it for comic effect, but in this film, I don't know if he did use it for comic effect, or whether he was trying to, or whether it was just not comic because of the times. Also, some of the depictions of like the slaves walking around is also very disturbing to watch, just in general. Also, like the whipping and torture of some of the people that you see happening. Sorry about that car. Performances in the film were absolutely brilliant. I mean, if you watched Inglourious Basterds, you would have known who Christoph Waltz is. Who played Hans Lander in that film, and he plays Dr. King Schultz, who is a dentist / bounty hunter in this film, who finds Django at the start of the film and invites to join his group. Invites him to join him on his bounty hunting mission, and in return of killing these three brothers, which are slave owners and racists, he will help Django rescue his wife, which is the basic premise of the plot. That's the issue. That's one of the issues I had with the film. When you look at films like Kill Bill, when you look at films like I'm not going to say Pulp Fiction, but maybe Kill Bill is like the one that you can really associate with this film. This film is a revenge film. Django is going out of his way to save his wife and kill the people that has captured her. Kill Bill is a revenge film about killing Bill, but it's completely different. But the thing Kill Bill does is that Kill Bill has so many subplots and parallel stories which intertwine and intermingle. It becomes a hell of a lot more interesting, intriguing, and it makes a lot more sense. It becomes more intricate. That's the word I was looking for. It's more intricate and therefore more engaging as an audience. This film to me didn't have any of that kind of parallel plot things that Tarantino usually does in his work. I can't actually recall if there is non-chronological editing within the film, but I do know Tarantino has a new editor because I think I heard Sally Menke died, which is a shame because she was a great editor. She worked on all of his other films. So yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about. I mean, the editing of this film was good, and I know what Tarantino's tried to do with this film. He's made his own western, which is fair enough, and you can obviously tell he absolutely loves the western genre. I've only seen a couple of western films, honestly. It wasn't a genre that has ever interested me until I watched The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. And the only reason I watched The Good, the Bad and the Ugly was because I heard it was Quentin Tarantino's favourite film, because he said that on one of his talk shows. I don't know if it's still his favourite film or is actually his favourite film, but it's a bloody good film. So I've only seen that as a western. I haven't got much knowledge of the western. And part of the problem of this film being like a western is that I got the feeling that Tarantino thought he needed to make an incredibly long film, which became very, very problematic towards the middle of the film to me, because the start of the film's brilliant, fast paced, the story's going, it's engaging, and then all of a sudden, after a certain set piece happens, it just slows down, and you begin to get introduced to new characters, which you don't like Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio as an actor, but in this role he absolutely plays it to his best. I didn't feel like I was watching Leonardo DiCaprio when I was watching this character. I thought I was watching Calvin Candy, who his character is, something DiCaprio has never been able to do to me. Like, whenever DiCaprio is in a film, I've always just looked at him as Leonardo DiCaprio, as opposed to this film where I actually see him as the character. This is the film which has truly shown off his acting ability, and I've actually started to respect him more as an actor now. I might go look back at some of his other films, but I really didn't like Romeo and Juliet or Titanic because it's rubbish. This film's 165 minutes long according to IMDb. I personally feel that this film could have been cut by about half an hour. I'm only saying this because throughout all of Tarantino's films, you can obviously see that Tarantino loves filming set pieces and also showing the progression towards the set pieces which are happening. And in this film, there are a number of set pieces that happen, but within all of his other films, there's still entertaining dialogue, witty humour that kind of fills the gap in between these set pieces, which kind of lets it flow more smoothly, and it's a lot more entertaining for the viewer. Parts of this film did that perfectly. The first hour and a half of the film is absolutely perfectly done. The set pieces are divided by nice dialogues, scenes, very Tarantino-esque. I've already said dialogue a lot, but yeah, uses Tarantino. He's basically Tarantino. And then towards the middle / end of the film, the third quarter of the film, it slows down, and there's a scene that happens at a dinner table, in a dinner table that happens, and it, for some reason, that for me went on for an age. I started to not actually nod off, but lose a lot of interest, which is a shame because I actually started to like Leonardo DiCaprio's character, but then they started talking, and it just got it just became not gratuitous, sorry. It just became more of the same, which wasn't leading up to much of a set piece. And then when the set piece comes, it is amazing, but I didn't know whether the payoff of the set piece was worth it for the 20 minutes before of one scene with a limited amount of camera angles, which wasn't very intriguing, had some very violent notions and racist notions within the scene, which makes everyone, well, made me feel uncomfortable watching it. That's the thing, like, this film, whenever there is a joke in the film, I mean, this film is actually very funny. There was a lot of points in the film that made me laugh quite a lot. This kind of feels to me like Tarantino is beginning, not to lose it, because it isn't his worst film, I have to admit, as I've already said. It's not his worst film, but he's starting to lose that charm that he had in the beginning. I think what he's talking about, he's starting to understand when he discusses the fact that he's going to quit when he's 60. Now, when I found that out, I was really quite disappointed, because I absolutely loved Quentin Tarantino. He's probably one of my favourite directors. I've seen all of his films. I own all of his films on Blu-ray and DVD. You know, everything that he puts out, I will go and watch. I will go see. I will love. But this film starts to drag in the middle, and I feel it's a problem with the editing and the direction. You know, the dialogue doesn't seem to gel so smoothly, and the use of the N-word within this dialogue, which I'm talking about, that within that one set piece, it's said multiple times, and it starts just becoming repetitive and boring, and it isn't used for comic effect. That being said, there were some people in the cinema laughing when it was said at certain parts, which I don't know whether they were just laughing because they're horrible people, or because it was actually intended that they were to laugh. I really don't understand if I love this film or just like it. I really do need to go watch it again. I have to say, when I left the cinema, I wasn't, oh my god, that was the best film ever, I must go back and see it again in the cinema right now, like I did when I went to see Batman. I saw that 3 times in the cinema. But I was in a completely different mindset for Batman. I was completely hyped. Not that I wasn't hyped for this. I mean, I've been listening to the soundtrack religiously for the past 5 days, knowing that I was going to go see it this evening. Oh, that's another thing. There's one scene in the film. I don't want to spoil when the scene is. But the music in the scene is actually the sound from the trailer. So you have the music in the trailer and the sound bites in the trailer, which go with the video in the trailer, over the top of some of the action within the film. And I kind of sat back and was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why is the trailer's soundtrack and music and sound bites in the actual film itself? It had dialogue of Jamie Foxx saying something that he says in the trailer, which is completely disconnected in the trailer from what it means in the film, that you've already seen before because it's in the film. And when he says it before, you know the context of it. It's just randomly thrown out of context compared to the context that it is actually in, because it's in the trailer and it's just in the middle of the film. And it's like, what are you doing? Whose decision was it to put that in there? I have no idea. Violence. This film is very violent. I actually, when I was watching it, I was thinking, it's not that bad. But then when I looked back on it, there were some really, really brutal, graphic scenes in there. And Tarantino's known for his graphic brutality and violence in films. Now, that being said, I have the feeling that a lot of people who go to see Tarantino films because they're Tarantino films don't watch violent films in general. You know, which is why there's such a backlash against Tarantino films when he releases one. You know, Reservoir Dogs was meant to be controversial. It's only controversial because it was an amazing film with a bit of gore and violence, and the idea that torture was just there to be done. I mean, yeah, that was obviously controversial, but in an actual torture porn film, which doesn't have a good story, doesn't have a back plot, is just there for the violence, normal people don't go watch those films. So I kind of feel that Quentin Tarantino's films aren't as violent or graphic or brutal as everyone says they are, especially the press. But the press obviously get at violence and things like these, especially with the the sad times about the shootings in America that have recently happened, especially with the interview that was posed to Quentin Tarantino on Channel 4, with that presenter asked him the question numerous times, and Tarantino just said he's going to shut him down. There were some points in the film where I didn't feel the music actually gelled, which is a massive problem for me in a Quentin Tarantino film, because all of Tarantino's films have amazing soundtracks. I've got all of them on my iPod. I listen to them all religiously. Like, I can listen to one of them and name what film it's in, know exactly what scene it's in the film. There's this, I don't. The music in this, in some of the music in this film is part rap music. It's called 100 Black Coffins. I don't know who sings it, but when it is sang, well, not sang, played over the top of the first time it's played, it's used quite well. It's used effectively, but it doesn't feel like Tarantino music. But he's obviously tried to put a Western slant on all of the music in the film, because it's a Western film. So he's got some of the music that he put into Kill Bill, which is also kind of a Western, but which he obviously put in there for that reason. But this film sounds completely different to the soundtrack of, say, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Death Proof. Inglourious Basterds' music sounds different, but it's still within the same kind of tone. I don't really understand why there was certain parts of the film's music soundtrack which I just absolutely hated. Like, the rap music in the first bit, when it was used for the first time, was actually really well done. Then it's put back later into the film, and the music's been edited. I don't know whether that's by the sound editor or the editor itself, the new one, I don't know who it's called. But that music, when it's used again, is edited wrongly into the section of the film where it's put in, so it feels wrong when you're watching that section of the film. I've talked about the trailer thing. Yes, there's one other piece of music I didn't like in this film. Beethoven's Für Elise, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I can play it on piano. Everyone can play it on the piano, pretty much. Everyone knows the tune. The only reason, personally, why I think he put that into the film was because he put that into Inglourious Basterds as well. And Inglourious Basterds, it works because it's the soundtrack over the top. In this film, it's used within the scene, which is almost the opposite of what Tarantino always does. I mean, yeah, there are parts where there's sound in the background, in the bar, in Pulp Fiction, in the car, where the music is playing, Reservoir Dogs music is playing in the background. Yeah, sure, that's fine. But when you've got a live performer playing music in the scene, and it's this piece of Beethoven, which is completely unnecessary, it brings your attention to it, and it's played very loudly over the top, and it's meant to, like, kind of, make the audience think about what the character who it's focusing on is thinking about, which is very, very horrible, which is understandable, but they could have used a bit better, they could have used better music than Für Elise, played on a harp. Yeah, overall I did really quite enjoy this film, but it does have its problems. This is just a first thoughts review. I probably definitely will be putting up a proper full review when I do plan to review all of Quentin Tarantino's work. Again, I mean, I've reviewed Death Proof, but I'm probably going to put up another review of that, just to say how my views have changed of that. I mean, Django Unchained, this review probably won't go up for another couple of years, until I buy the Blu-ray and re-watch it. I might go see it tomorrow, I don't know, but it is a very, very good film, very stylish. It is a Quentin Tarantino film, but to me it felt like it was just ticking the boxes of a Quentin Tarantino film, rather than being new and innovative within the same kind of format he already brings. I'm not saying it is a bad film. I'm not saying it's a great. I'm not saying it's one of the best films ever, which is unfortunate, because I went into this film expecting an incredible piece of filmmaking, like Inglourious Basterds was. I thoroughly enjoyed Inglourious Basterds, and this was the first Quentin Tarantino film I've actually seen in the cinema on a big screen. All the others have been home release that I've watched on Blu-ray and DVD. So for me, I would have preferred to watch this on home release, so I can admire it for what it is, rather than the whole spectacle of everything. There's controversy around the film, obviously, but there's always controversy about Tarantino films, and of course racism when it comes to the topic of racism. This film is very, very harsh with its language, but you just have to live with it, and it does represent the times of what the film setting is, so it's not like it's just thrown in there. But mind you, when he does throw in words like the N-word in other films, he uses it as a comic effect. So, yeah, those are just my first thoughts about the film itself. I personally would rate the first hour and a half is just pure Tarantino. I would say the first hour and a half of the film is definitely a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, just for all of what it is. It's just brilliant, the dialogue, everything. But then the film takes a massive standstill. Like, it just becomes, oh, wait, is this really going to take this long? Blah, 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 blah. It goes on for too long. And then towards the end it starts to pick up again. And at the end of the film, there's about an 8 out of 10. Except for that one shot of the dancing horse. Why is there a dancing horse, Tarantino? There shouldn't be a dancing horse in this film. Please remove it in the Blu-ray and the DVD. I do not want to watch a Tarantino horse dancing thing with Jamie Foxx and a horse dancing. No, that's not what I paid for. Right, thanks for watching this. Overall, I want to give it a higher mark. I've forgotten what I've given Death Proof. This is definitely better than Death Proof. Definitely. I will revise what I thought about Death Proof in the future, but yeah, this is definitely better. I want to give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, it dragged a lot in the middle. That's the only problem I had with it. All the acting was superb. Tarantino feels like he's not... like, Inglourious Basterds to me felt like he was top of his game again after... Well, kind of the same he was on on Pulp Fiction after Death Proof, because Death Proof was a bit of a letdown. This feels like he's just lowered his ability slightly, only slightly, not a lot. Maybe I'm just judging it and reading into this a bit too much, but to me, he's lowered. Like there's Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, there's Kill Bill. I'd say, what's it called? Inglourious Basterds is on par with Kill Bill. Oh, sorry, Jackie Brown is higher than Kill Bill. Jackie Brown's actually up there with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Don't know what I'm doing with my fucking hands. But I'd say then it's, I don't know. I really don't know. The thing is, they're all different films, but I love them all. This is better than Death Proof. Death Proof is here, then there's Django, then Kill Bill, Inglourious Basterds, Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. This has been Sam. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Comment, rate and subscribe, and give me feedback on channel, stuff like that. I hope you've enjoyed the review. I think I've just said that. Bye.